Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to talk about Airbnb. For about the last month, I've actually been living in Davao City in the Philippines, and I don't have a home base here. I usually live out in the province, so I've had to get a short-term accommodation. So today I'm going to talk about Airbnb, what it is, how the Philippines differs from other places that I have lived over this last year and a half in other countries dealing with Airbnb. Talk about the costs, the quality, the availability, and basically what Airbnb is for those of you that don't know. So let's get started right now.
Like a light lighting up in the dark.
So I have a love-hate relationship with Airbnb. Several times over the course of the last year and a half when I've been traveling, I've sworn that I wouldn't use them again, and then I end up doing so. I would say about half of my experiences have been really, really good, and half of them have just been really, really bad with Airbnb. It's hit or miss. It depends on the country. It depends on the host. But for those of you who don't know, Airbnb is a solution to having short-term rentals. So when you go to a place and you're only going to stay 30 days or 3 months, a lot of places it's very, very hard outside of a hotel to get short-term accommodations because people want long-term leases. And the Philippines is no different from that. It is a place that they're generally wanting to have some sort of a contract, some sort of a long-term lease, some stability rather than doing stuff on the short term. Airbnb is a solution to where you can not have to go to a hotel and you can actually have a home on a short-term basis. So the benefits to it is really, sometimes it's cost, but the big benefits are things like you can get a kitchen, you can have a living room, you can have a living area to actually live in, to do your laundry, a laundry machine. In some of the units, it depends on where you're staying, obviously. But those reduce your costs of actually living in a hotel, because if you can cook, if you can eat in, you can save a lot of money generally in most countries, with Thailand being maybe the one exception to that in general. But in the Philippines, you can certainly save money here by cooking and doing your own laundry through the laundry machines, hanging it out to dry, whatever. You can't really do that in a hotel other than hiring someone or taking it out to a laundromat to be done. So there's a big benefit to that in the Airbnbs. Plus, it feels more like a home rather than a hotel room. So you can save some money if you're doing it long-term on Airbnbs compared to a hotel. Depending on the units you're staying in, you may or may not have better amenities in a hotel. Sometimes you can stay in condos in Airbnb to where you'll have like a swimming pool, and you can stay in a hotel where maybe they don't have a swimming pool. So again, the different amenities and stuff you have to look at on a case-by-case basis and determine what's best for you. But the main benefit that I've had and that I find with Airbnbs is when you go to a new country and you're planning on staying for a longer period of time. For instance, let's say you're going to stay 3 months, 6 months, a year, or you're going to live there permanently, but you don't yet have a place to live. Airbnb is an excellent solution to that, because you can go in, you can stay for 2 weeks in the Airbnb, or even you get a discount on most of the time when you book for 30 days, and then you can use that as a base to try to find a longer term lease in a place that you like. And that gives you the opportunity to explore the city that you're coming to, especially if you haven't already looked for those accommodations before you've actually got your feet on the ground. So I've used Airbnb almost in every country I've gone to, with the exception of the city of Chiang Mai, to find longer term accommodations. And when I was in Chiang Mai, I just used a hotel. I think I booked a hotel for 10 days and we had a place to live inside 8. It's a different culture. You really don't have to do that as much there. They're much more into short-term leases. It's one of the few places that I've been to that had that. Now, the first place that I came in the Philippines, this trip just this last month, was I got a studio, which I'll show you. Here, I'll just run a video and you can see it. All right, so this Airbnb here, I'm going to show you in Davao, was
Like a light lighting up in the dark.
just a tiny little place.
Got out to act, it's okay.
I think it was 1,200 pesos a night. Then you got a little kitchen.
It's been a while since I forgot.
And I'll show you the bathroom. Not much to it. It's Okay, so that is a studio apartment, and it was teeny tiny, and that is pretty common here in Davao. When you get condo Airbnbs here where they're studios, even if they're 1 or 2 bedrooms, the bedrooms, the rooms, they're just really, really small. They're really small boxes, much more so than anything I've experienced in any, I would say, other than in Belgrade, in the city center. Any place that I've ever traveled, they've been some of the smallest units that I've ever seen. In Bangkok even, the units seem to be bigger than what I have seen here in Davao. In Manila, it can go either way. You can have really small units, or you can get at least what I would call larger units. Now, that Airbnb had its problems, okay? The cost on it, again, was more expensive than what I am used to paying. In fact, I wrote down, let me get the exact cost on it. Yeah, okay. So for that tiny studio, I was paying $31 a night, okay? $31 a night. It did have a small kitchen there, and it was okay. I mean, it had good water pressure. The shower worked good. It was a hot water shower with a Widowmaker. But it was a tiny, tiny place for $31 a night. And although it did have a pool, the 2 days that I was there, the pool was not open. So I wouldn't have swam anyway. That wasn't the purpose. I was coming in looking at different real estate options and needed a place to stay for a couple days while I was doing that. But it wasn't well stocked. The people that actually ran that one they had a lot of units. I think they had like 30 units just in that one place that I was at. So there's a ton of Airbnbs that were available just in that area. Now the benefits to it was, for that price, I was right in the city center. I was literally a 5-minute walk down to the Rojas night market or to the mall. It was very near the Marco Polo Hotel. If you're familiar with that in the Davao area, it's one of the more famous landmarks there. So that was a good benefit of being right there in the city center, to where you could easily get transportation to any place basically in Davao. It was easy to find taxis. It was easy to get around. You were in walking distance to a lot of things. So I understand paying a premium for that benefit. Now, the disadvantages to it, and this is what I have seen in lots of condos, Airbnb condos in Davao, is that the cleanliness issues. And I think I've got a video right here you can see. Yeah, found this little critter while I was in that Airbnb. So pest control just is not up to standards in there, because each of the units are individually managed there. You can't determine what your neighbor is going to be doing or what the Airbnb next door is going to be doing, and so they can bring stuff in that's going to get right up into your room. And this one was, I believe that was on the 8th floor when we were staying there. So overall, Airbnbs in the Philippines compared to the United States or to Western Europe or to many other Western countries is going to be so much cheaper. It is so much more affordable, and the quality you get, it's hit or miss on the unit that you check into, but the quality is acceptable in most of the units that I have seen. Again, these are so much more affordable than what you're going to be paying in the United States. Just where I was living when I left the United States, and it was not a tourist area in the town that I was in, they had Airbnbs, and the amount of money that they were charging for it was just ridiculous for that. There's no way for less than probably $100 a night that you would have been able to get an Airbnb in that area. Different areas of the country in the United States, maybe you can, but even at $30, $40, you would not be able to get an Airbnb. Now, that being said, even though the Philippines is such a better bargain than Western Europe or the United States as far as Airbnbs go, compared to other countries that are low cost of travel destinations, such as the other places I've been, such as Thailand, such as Albania, to an extent, Serbia, but I'll come back on that. The Philippines is much more expensive for short-term accommodations than those places. And it's just true. It's just one of the drawbacks of the Philippines. Long-term accommodations, you can come to the Philippines and you can get incredible deals. So if you're staying here permanently, or you're staying here for 6 months or for a year, and you can sign a contract, pretty much anywhere in the Philippines, you're going to get a better deal than almost, with the exception of Thailand, any of those other places that I had lived. But for short-term accommodations, it's just the Philippines is more expensive. Now, still, great value for the money just compared to those other places. And I'll just give you an example of that. And I'm going to do apples to apples and talk about 2 bedrooms in all of the places that I have stayed Airbnb-wise. So I've currently got an Airbnb here in Davao City, and it's a nice place. In fact, I would say this is probably one of the best equipped 2-bedroom Airbnbs that I've stayed at anywhere in the world. There's plenty of pots and pans for cooking. They've got tons of, they got coffee makers, they've got microwaves, they've got all of the utensils and equipment just like if you were in your own home. So it's really, really well equipped. This one is currently, this is in the Matina area, which is near the G Mall, which is a very popular mall here. And you're within a $2 to $3 taxi ride to the city center, and it wouldn't take you too much time to get there. Also, although this one is not actually in a condo, this is out in a neighborhood, so it's not as easy to get a taxi. You can always call a Grab, or you can walk a block or two and you can get a taxi. So there's a little bit more of an inconvenience in that standpoint, and obviously you don't have a pool or any amenities like that. It's still a really nice place. It's incredibly clean. You don't have any sort of pest control problems or anything here because that's maintained and taken care of by the people. It's got very modern equipment as far as air conditionings and refrigerators. All of them are inverters, a really great washing machine, but it's pricey. So with the fees and everything averaged out over, I think I booked this place for 14 or 15 days, but the cost, and I wrote it down, was, $42 a night is what it averaged out to. So can I get a two hotel rooms cheaper than that? Maybe. Yes, I'm not sure what the place would look like. So again, $42 a night in the Philippines, that's kind of, I consider that pricey compared to what I would have paid in, say, Albania or some of the other places. In fact, out of all of my travels, 2 bedrooms, I've only paid, one time I paid an equal amount for a 2-bedroom, and that was in Belgrade, Serbia. But I was literally 1 block away, 1 street away from the capital, from the parliament. So I was directly in the city center of a capital city of a country. So I was paying premium for that real estate. And also I was there at a time to where it was unusually high for Airbnbs, so they weren't normally that high. The reason they were is because it was one of the few places on earth at that time that was open for travel. I'm sure the prices have probably gone down since then, but it was a gateway country for people to come to the United States, because a lot of people couldn't come directly, for instance, from India at that time. And so Indians that were coming to the United States or going to other Western countries were coming into Belgrade at that time so that they could do their 30 days in another country and not have been in India, so they could actually get into other countries. So it really massively increased the price of the short-term accommodations there normally wouldn't have been there. So the other time that I saw prices again in these lower cost countries was in Albania. And so in Albania, and I wrote that one down too, I paid, let me see. Okay, so I paid an outrageous $65 a night. That's still low for United States standards, but for a really nice 2-bedroom condo. So really nice, had all sorts of amenities, a good shower, just a really nice, clean place. But it was literally right across the street from the major mall in the city center, and I was a less than a 5-minute walk away from Skanderbeg Square, which was the city center of, it's the main attraction, city center of the capital city of Tirana, Albania. So I was paying a premium there, not only for the quality, but I was also paying a premium for the location. And so you're really not seeing the premiums here because there's not places that are comparable to that. This is not a capital city. But now what I will tell you, even though the costs are higher here in Davao City with the Airbnbs, if you go to Manila, and I have looked at costs in Manila, the costs there there's a lot more competition, and unless you're staying basically in Makati or you're staying in BGC, you can get a lot of value for a 2-bedroom in Manila than you can compared to here in Davao. There's just more competition, there's more amenities and stuff there. If you are looking at doing Airbnbs here in the Philippines and you're okay with a studio or a 1-bedroom, if that's okay with you and that's all that you need, then you can get much better deals than that. Again, I'm comparing apples to apples because I was getting 2 bedrooms. I mean, we're traveling with more than just me and my wife. I've got a brand new baby and had to have somebody to take care of the baby during the day, so we needed a 2nd bedroom in order to handle that. If it's just you and you're solo, or it's just you and your significant other, then you can save a lot more money than that and get your costs way down. But again, in the places that I've traveled outside of the Western Europe or in the United States, the costs even on those 1-bedrooms were higher here in the Philippines. Now, there are some things that you need to watch out for in the Philippines when you're doing Airbnbs that you don't necessarily have to in some other countries. So it is normally against Airbnb's terms and services for them to charge you anything other than the cost. In other words, they can't, in addition to what you're paying on a nightly fee, charge you for electricity or water or some other utilities. And so if there is fine print in there and you see those, and I have experienced this in Thailand and in the Philippines. It's the only 2 places I've ever seen it. If y'all have seen it somewhere else, leave a comment below, let other people know about it. But sometimes when you're looking at the Airbnbs in that fine print, when they're doing the description of the place, you need to look at it, because some of them will tell you after the first 100 pesos of electricity a day, we start charging you. So you need to look at there. That's against the terms and policies generally of Airbnb. I don't know how these places get away with that, but I started noticing it became very common in Thailand. They do it all the time in Thailand. And I saw it in multiple listings here in the Philippines when I was looking for places to stay this time. Now, none of the places that I did had that. And so that's one great thing about the Airbnb is when you're doing it, rather than like when you lease a place, you know, your air conditioning, your electricity, all of that is going to be included in the cost. And obviously, if you're blowing that all of the time, you're running air conditioner all the time, that's a reason in the Philippines that they probably do charge more money, because they have to factor in somebody coming in and turning that aircon on in all the rooms, you know, 24/7, and the electricity here is high. It's extremely expensive to many of the other places that I have stayed, and that's not the Airbnb host's fault. They've just got to make sure that they get compensated and get reimbursed for that. And I think that's probably one of the reasons that we see that the rates are slightly higher here in the Philippines. Again, compared to the United States, it's great deals. It's absolutely great deals. Just a few more tips that I'll tell you about Airbnbs, both here in the Philippines and as far as traveling that I've done in the last year and a half, is that if internet is going to be important to you, you really want to look at that and pay very special attention to the listing. Sometimes I actually will reach out to the host before I actually book the thing, and I want to know details of what the actual internet speed is. Just because they say it has Wi-Fi doesn't mean that it's going to be necessarily up to par for what I would need for my needs. For instance, so obviously I do a YouTube channel here, so I have to upload YouTube videos. I guess I don't have to, but I want to. So I have to have an internet that's going to have an upload speed that's going to allow me to put those videos up if I'm going to be in a place for 30 days, rather than having to go get a co-working space to do that. And I'm certainly not really interested in paying to do YouTube. So I want that to be a part of, you know, whatever accommodation I'm staying at. And so here in the Philippines, I was able to see what those are. I've gotten very good connection speeds here in Davao. I'm sure you could in Manila too, or Cebu. But here I'm getting 100 megabytes per second up and 100 down. So it's excellent internet. Hadn't had any problems with it. And the other unit I've rented before, the condo, the studio, it was really good internet too there. Very, very, very good Wi-Fi. But I always reach out and find out, because you may get there and it just not be workable for whatever your needs are. Also, you want to look at the location and find out about transportation issues. So here in Davao right now, the main transportation is going to be a jeepney. If you want to use jeepneys, that's, they're pretty crowded, but you can use those. It's, depending on where you're going, it's going to be anywhere between 11, maybe 30 pesos if you're going a very long distance on there. I think it's per the kilometer. Or taxis. And the taxi situation here in Davao, unless you are near a mall or a major road, you want to be near one of those if you want to be able to get taxis, unless you're going to have your own transportation. Taxis are much harder to get than they were several years ago. I may do a video on that, the taxi situation here in Davao, because a lot has changed since the world basically shut down. But so if you're in a condo beside a mall, where you can basically walk over to the mall, you can get all your needs taken care of there. Obviously near a mall, you're gonna have lots of taxis that come in, dropping people off and picking people up. But if you're gonna be in a more remote area inside the city, like I am right now, then you're going to actually have to walk. So I would have to walk it's about 5-6 minutes, it's not far, up to the major intersection in order to be able to hopefully flag down a taxi. I've had to wait a little bit, I think 1 hour at one point before I could find one. Or you can order a Grab. Although the Grab taxis, sometimes in some areas it's really hard to get one. Where I'm at right now, it's not been a problem and I've been able to get one. But tonight I was down at Chinatown actually. Had done some shopping down there. It was very, very difficult. So just keep in mind your transportation issues when you're getting into Airbnb and look at where those locations are, because you need to be able to get around. All right, guys, if you liked this, found it helpful, hit the like button so other people can find it, and then hit subscribe if you want to ever see this stuff again. And if you have had any experiences with Airbnbs here in the Philippines that either confirm what I'm telling people or are different in some way, or especially if you've been to some provinces that I haven't talked about here, or some cities that I haven't talked about, leave a comment below and let other people know, and let me know as well so I know when I'm traveling around if it's worth using them in those cities. All right, thanks guys, and I'll see you in the next one.